everyone! Today I'll be showing you how to make this crochet fish catnip toy that will drive your kitties wild. This tutorial requires only simple stitches, so it's suitable for crochet lovers of any skill level. In addition to this video, I'll also have a written pattern in the description box below. Okay, let's get started. So here's what you'll need. You'll need some yarn in your desired fish color. I chose a nice light blue. And then you'll need a little bit of black and red yarn to embroider the eyes and the mouth. You'll need some stuffing, a few pinches of catnip, a yarn needle, and a crochet hook. Mine is 3.5 millimeters. To start your fish, you'll make 6 single crochets in a magic circle. If you don't know how to do a magic circle, you can also just chain 6 and slip stitch them together to form a ring. That's perfectly fine. In your second row, you'll make 2 single crochets in each stitch, doubling your total number of stitches to 12 stitches around. In your third row, you'll make 1 single crochet in the first stitch, then 2 in the next, then 1 in the next, then 2, repeating around. This will increase your stitches to 18 around total. You'll continue increasing this way until you've reached 30 stitches around. So for your fourth row, you'll make 1 single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then 2 in the third, repeating around until you've increased to 24 stitches. Fifth row, you'll make 1 single crochet in the first 3 stitches, then increase 2 in your fourth stitch. After this, you should have 30 stitches around. This part will determine how large your fish will be, so you can continue increasing this way until you're happy, or stop at an earlier point to make a smaller fish. It's really up to you and your cat to decide. Once you've reached 30 stitches, you'll want to make 3 full rows of 1 single crochet per stitch, so no increasing or decreasing. This will help turn up the edges of your work and start the three-dimensional shape. After 3 rows of 30 stitches, you'll start to decrease your stitches. When increasing, we added 6 stitches per row. For our decreasing rows, we will take away 3 stitches per row to taper off the fish body toward the tail. To start, you'll make 8 single crochets in 8 stitches, so 1 for 1. Your 9th stitch will be a decrease stitch, which means you'll go once through the first stitch, then instead of pulling through for a single crochet, you'll go once through the next stitch, so you'll have both stitches on your hook. Then you'll pull through all of these, effectively making 2 stitches into 1. And if this is too complicated, you can always just skip a stitch and single crochet into the next. The end result will be the same. Continue this way 2 more times, 8 single crochets for 8 stitches, then 1 decrease stitch. After you've done this 3 times in total, you'll reach the beginning of your row and your stitches will have decreased to 27 around. Next row, you'll continue in a similar fashion, only this time you'll make 7 single crochets in 7 stitches, and your 8th stitch will be a decrease stitch. Do this twice more to complete the row, and you'll have 24 stitches around. You'll continue this in your next row with 6 single crochets in 6 stitches, followed by a decrease stitch, 3 times around for each row. Your last row of decreasing should be 1 single crochet in 1 stitch, followed by a decrease stitch repeated around, which will give you 6 stitches. At this point, your opening will be very small, so it's time to stuff the body. There really is no right or wrong way to do this. I began by taking a small tuft of stuffing and pushing it into the fish with the opposite end of my crochet hook. Then I took a pinch of catnip and pushed it into the fish in a similar fashion. How much catnip you add is up to you, but I know as soon as I took the box out, my cats were scratching at the door begging to be let in, so a little goes a long way. I ended up with 3 tufts of stuffing and 3 pinches of catnip total in my fish. Now we're almost done. To finish it off, we'll start out increasing again to make the tail of the fish. Just like when we began, we'll do 2 single crochets in each stitch, increasing from 6 to 12 stitches around. Next row, we'll just do 1 single crochet per stitch, ending again with 12 around. Now we'll seal off the tail. I did this by folding the tail in half, chaining 1, and making a single crochet through the 2 stitches across from each other. This doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure your tail is completely sealed off. I did 6 single crochets across the tail in total. You can stop here, but I thought it would be nice to embellish the tail a little bit. So turning my work around, I chained one and then made 3 single crochets into the first stitch, then slip stitched into the next, then 3 single crochets in the third stitch, slip stitch into the fourth. Do this one more time for your 5th and 6th stitches to create a cute little scalloped edge. Now you can tie off your yarn and weave the end into your work. You've completed the fish, and you can stop here if you like, but I always enjoy putting a little face on my work. I started by sewing on the eyes with my yarn needle and just a little bit of black yarn. When sewing into a stuffed toy, I start by making a big ugly knot at the end of my string and then simply just sewing into my work so the knot gets caught in the stuffing. I find this does a pretty good job of keeping the stitches in place, and it allows me to tuck the ends in with no knots sticking out of my work. From here, I pretty much just freehanded some X's for eyes and tied off my yarn, pushing the ends into the fish. Now comes the more interesting part. I cut off a longer piece of red yarn to begin the mouth, and I started to sew a frown onto my fish. I tried to make the stitches look like crochet stitches by threading through and then putting the loop over my needle before pulling tight. These first stitches are pretty bad, so let me try to show you again. Basically, I would push my needle through the next stitch and then loop the thread over my needle and then pull through. This was my strategy for making my embroidered face look like crochet stitches, but I'm not sure it really turned out exactly how I wanted. So if you have any experience with stitching for faces or detailing, or if you know of any good tutorials, please let me know because I'd love to check it out. So apparently my wonky frown was not enough for me, and I decided to go in and try to make a 3-dimensional tongue as well. So I took out my crochet hook from before, and I went in to make a couple stitches along the frown. First, I chained one, then I single crocheted into the first frown stitch, and I did this twice more, making 3 single crochets across. Then I turned around and I chained one, skipped a stitch, and then single crocheted into the middle stitch. At this point, I decided this was enough, and I slip stitched to the bottom of my tongue, after which I tied off the ends and tucked them into the body. And that's it. When I finally let my kitties into the room, they couldn't get enough of this little toy. I think I'll be making plenty more of these to have around the house, so please let me know if there are any other animals or things you'd like me to make, and I'll see what I can come up with. Alright, that's all. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. Until next time, happy crafting!